Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
You've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. Today I'm talking with Nate Patterson. Nate, how you doing today?
How you doing, guys? I'm good.
I'm having a great day. Nathan, before we jump into the interview, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what got you interested in joining this entrepreneurial journey?
Yep, my name's Nathan Patterson. I'm originally from Maine, moved to Alaska 11 years ago. 5 years ago, I started my own land clearing and excavation business with my partner that I've been best friends with since 8th grade. Since starting this business, it continues to grow every single year. And then I got accepted onto the BLOX back in May. I went down there to Tulsa, Oklahoma and met,
Great program.
The network of people, man, was just amazing. So I'm a very blue collar guy, very hands-on kind of guy. I've found that I hit kind of a ceiling in business where I'm hitting the same number every single year. And I'm like, okay, now it's time to reflect. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? And how can I improve? And so going to the BLOX, meeting all the coaches, all the judges, and kind of talking them through, there was a lot of insight there that was very helpful. That I've since this year hired more people and kind of training them up, getting them up to speed. Because before I was doing it all myself because it's my business, it's my baby. I've nurtured this, and there comes a point where you get so damn busy, you need to start delegating that stuff to other people. Which has been a great help this year, a lot less stressful. And then also we basically use the excavation business to fund other business ventures that we're going on. So this year, for 3 years, we've been working on a business called Plow Pros. What that is I plow in the wintertime, and I find that every single winter that I'm out plowing, I will hit a residential neighborhood, and I'll drive. In Alaska, things are a little more spread out and far apart. So I'll drive 30 minutes to go to another neighborhood, and I'll get a phone call from the neighborhood I was just in, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't get to you. And they'll say, well, can you recommend anybody? And I'll give them a few. They'll end up calling 20 companies to try to find somebody. Sometimes they're snowed in for 3 days. And I'm like, okay, this is a fucking problem. How can we solve this? So 3 years ago, I got involved with a couple friends of mine this was an idea of theirs many years ago. I had some money and I said, hey, let me be a partner in this and let me help fund this and let's get this thing going. So now we're basically building Uber for plow trucks. A homeowner, you'll be able to pull your phone up, see in real time where all of the registered plow drivers are in your area. So if a guy's 3 houses down, you don't need to call 20 companies trying to figure out who that is. You just see he's there. You send him a request. He's there within minutes. So that's our main focus right now.
I think that's a fantastic scenario. I know I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and I have robots that plow my lot now. I got a 100-car parking lot. I've got robots that go and do that.
Really?
I do. It's pretty wild. It's only a 100-car lot though. So it's not that big. And it's 2 robots and it saves me money here in Missouri. I'm not sure what you're talking, like the size of lots, but being able to, it's an investment to have those, right? It's not it's a capital expense. It's not an operational expense by far. So for the average person to have the ability to just get an app and have that plow come to their yard. And then I'm assuming that there's other types of services that you could add on top of that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to jump back for a second and just talk about, but for my audience that you get to meet today, Nate, they may not know what the BLOX is. I was on season 12 of the BLOX. What season were you on?
We were season 22. It hasn't aired yet. So
right. So I was on season 12 of the BLOX. BLOX is West from the Real World, has created this ecosystem of training small, medium, large size businesses. It's basically like a small incubator, but it's in a reality TV show base. It's a whole lot of fun. I had a blast. It's basically a week-long pitch competition for your business with education and all this stuff. And then Wes takes that and he takes the episode, he builds coursework around it. So he takes all of the shenanigans that we do as contestants competing against each other and then makes coursework out of that. And it's a ton of fun. It's the BLOX. If anybody wants to check that out, I'm on season 12. Nate's on season 22. Perfect. And it's an interesting, if you're interested in entrepreneurship and things like that and you want to learn, it's a phenomenal resource across the board. What did you think about your experience on the blocks?
I really liked it because, like I said, I had hit a ceiling, and when you're an entrepreneur, you get kind of locked into tunnel vision, right? Where you're not, and when you're running the business and you're doing everything, you're not able to see the different angles of approaches you can take because you're just locked into, okay, this works. I know this works. This is what I'm doing. But then to be able to take a step back and network with a lot of other entrepreneurs that are successful and share your struggles and share your ideas, and then they come in and they're not trying to like take business from you, they're trying to help you grow, and to just have them pitch a different, hey, did you think about this? And I'm like, oh my God, that's so easy. Why didn't I think about that? Well, I didn't think about it because I'm locked into the fucking.
Yeah, it's wild. As business owners, a lot of business owners start their business because it's their passion or it's something that they know how to do. And they get to a point and it's, almost all careers have this golden handcuff moment, right? But as a business owner, you can really get stuck in those golden handcuffs to where you're like, I don't have time to step back and look at the business because I'm working in the business. And right. Programs like the BLOX give you an opportunity to kind of step back and look at your own business from a different direction and put you back on that course of work on your business instead of in your business.
So what I ended up doing was a couple of the judges I hit it off with really good. I ended up flying one of them up here to Alaska, stayed with me for a week and filmed some content for me for the excavation business. And then I took all the content he gave me that he edited and stuff, and then gave it to another judge that builds web pages. Now my web page is off the hook. People are hitting it up all the time. Just really, really good network of people. That was worth the money alone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a phenomenal program. The assets that you get from it are amazing. So I think if you want to check out the BLOX, check it out. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to go on, I highly recommend applying. It's a ton of fun. They take 100 contestants every season and they do seasons back to back. So it's a ton of fun. Plow Pros.
Yeah.
So there's a new app that you're doing.
Yeah.
Android and Apple, I'm assuming.
Yep. Yeah.
Is it for the business owner or is it for the resident?
It's for both.
Okay.
It's for both. So you can check it out, www.plowpros.com. You are not able to download it at this moment. We've had issues with developers in the past. They've taken our money. Now we're finally have a legitimate one. They're saying in December we're going live. So what it is you can go on that website. You can sign up early right now. So we have all your email and stuff and your logistics of where you are. When we're ready to launch, we'll be sending out an email to everybody that, hey, you can download this now. But you can go on there and sign up as a homeowner, or you can go on there and sign up as a driver. So for a driver, you're going to have a business license. You've got to have the proper business insurance. This isn't something for anybody with a plow to sign up on because there's too much liability. But if you're a legitimate business and a legitimate professional, hence Plow Pros, right, you can go on there and make some extra money.
So if I own a plow and all those things, I can go to Plow Pros. I upload my driver's license, my proof of insurance, my proof of liability insurance, license, bonded, all of those things. Do you help the truck driver get all those things?
So we've been talking about that. I think what we're going to do is LegalZoom. I think we're just going to throw a link on the webpage for people. That's how we started F&P Forestry, which is my excavation business. We didn't know what we were doing. How do we become compliant? Pay LegalZoom. I don't know. It was like $500.
$500.
They'll get you an LLC set up and then you can go make some money. For a lot of people, that sounds like a lot of money to get started, but like it's really not with the potential that's out there. And when you own your own business, you can take it to whatever limits that you want.
Today, you can start a business for a few $100 and, that is far less expensive. My first company, I was 14 years old. I think I had to hustle up like $10,000 or $20,000 to get licensed and bonded and get stuff going. Right. And I was just
it's very easy now.
So you can figure this stuff out. $500. If you want to start a business and you can't come up with $500, then your business is definitely going to fail.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think we're gonna put a link in there for LegalZoom of, hey, if you don't have an LLC, here, click this link and they'll walk you through it. So
I'd recommend getting kickbacks on LegalZoom and the insurance carriers.
Hey, that's the way to do it.
Right. Anytime that you can send a lead somewhere, it's valuable. Nathan, what's the boldest pivot or decision you've made in your business that changed the trajectory of your growth?
Ooh, there's a lot. there's a lot of pivotal decisions. You know, when we first started out, I was renting equipment. I would go sell work. I'll talk excavation wise, right? Because we're not fully public. I don't know the issues we're going to run into with Plow Pros, but I know a lot of the issues we run into with F&P Forestry. So when we first started out, I would go sell work, advertise, sell work, and then rent equipment. And then there was a moment where it was like, hey, I have all this work. I need to buy my own machine, a new excavator or a new skid steer. They're running about $200K. And that's something that I was like, and I did it. Now I own 3 of them, got a fourth on the way. So that's just kind of a barrier that you need to take a risk. It pays off. If you don't take the risk, you're going to be stuck there renting machines, relying on somebody else to deliver it, relying on somebody else to have it.
But let's just talk about risk for a second, because if you were to say, hey, I'm going to start an excavation business tomorrow and I'm going to go buy a truck, that's a risk. But if you go out and say, hey, I got this excavation job, I'm going to rent equipment to make sure that I can do the first job, and I've done that 5 or 6 times. When you're buying that excavator, that's a calculated business investment. That's not a risk per se, right? And then you have that asset that you can then sell later. So I think it's a wonderful thing. I think that path is a wonderful trajectory for business owners, right? Start out with very low risk to myself and my family, right? Renting equipment is low risk to me and my family. And then when it's time, I guess you could say that not making as much money on those first couple of jobs was a risk to your family too. But you know, in poker, we never hedge our bet unless there's life-changing money at risk. And I would call $200K life-changing money. Even if I had billions, I'd be upset if I lost $200K. So it's a big one, and congratulations for doing that. I know that's a scary step to take sometimes.
So the real risk was I was in the oil field when COVID hit. Had a $120K a year job, full of benefits, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, pretty much had it made. And then COVID hit, and they started telling me I needed to wear a mask in my loader. And that's not really my side. And we won't get into politics, but that's not me. Right. So I said, next thing you know, you'll be telling me to stick some shit in my body I don't agree with. Oh no, it won't get there. And I go, you know what? I'm not doing this. And so they said, you can take a voluntary leave of absence. And that was my only choice. So I voluntarily left and just went all in on the business, was like, I'll start my own thing. And I think that was really rocket fuel for the business, because everybody was shut down. And I was like, no, this is America. We can do whatever the fuck we want. I'll come clear your trees. I'll come do your excavation. So while everybody else was shut down, I was willing to go out there and still work, and wasn't afraid of what the news was telling us. And now we're the guys to call. It's really great.
In every time of crisis, there's opportunity to change your trajectory. And my business is mission critical. So COVID was nothing changed in my life during COVID, other than I own a gym that had to shut down, but my day to day was the same as always. When somebody asks what differentiates you in a crowded space, what's your real answer beyond buzzwords? And how do you prove it?
What differentiates me from the crowd? I would say that when I say something, I mean it. I keep my word. It's cost me a lot of money over the years keeping my word, but I go against the grain. There's people in this industry that I'm in that tell you everything you want to hear, and then they don't deliver. I go and I deliver every single fucking time, because my word is my bond, and that's what separates me from the other people in the crowd.
Yeah, I think, I'm very similar to you, and I feel like we might be very similar in this case scenario. And I think what you're talking about is this concept of not in scope of the job. You take a job, you say, yes, I'll get that job done for you. And a lot of vendors, some silly little thing will pop up that, doesn't really affect the scope of the work or the time, the actual scope of the work, labor, machinery, and stuff like that. A lot of vendors say, oh, that's out of scope. We need to rescope the job, or it's going to cost you so much extra. And I think what you're talking about is that you kind of cut through that red tape bullshit and get that job done regardless. And sometimes it costs us money because we overlook some things, and people take advantage of that, especially if they know that's the kind of business that you do. So if that's the kind of person you are, and that's the kind of person that I am, my recommendation to you is make sure that your scope of work is highly defined, right? Make sure that whenever you're doing your bids, that you're going through and that you know what you're doing, instead of just kind of blowing up and saying, yeah, we'll figure that out, and not price it properly, because you can lose your ass by holding on to your word. Holding on to my word has bought me more residual future work than it's ever lost to me. And I'm curious to hear, about your thoughts on that as well.
So for example, I had one job. I think it was my first year in business. Big multi-million-dollar company got a hold of me to do a clearing for a early learning development school going in. At the time, I had a Chevy 2500 and a dump trailer, and we produced about 400 cord of wood in 40-foot sticks. And they said, "Do you want to get the wood out of there, or do you want us to handle it?" At the time, I've got a little mini excavator. So I said, well, let me check around. So I called a company that owns a log truck, and I said, hey, I'll give you half of this wood if you deliver half to my property for me. I'll split it for you. No money exchange. You take half, deliver the other half for me, and you can make money and I'll make money. Yep, sounds good. So the clearing gets done and the big company starts doing the excavation work, and on 400 cord of wood needs to move. And I call the log truck driver and he says, oh yeah, no, sorry, I can't do it. So I've got this little dump trailer that holds about 2 cord of wood. And I'm like, man, how am I going to handle this? I ended up paying about $10,000, which was my profit. Didn't make any money on the job. Paid $10,000 to get the wood removed because I said I would. A year later, a change order came up on a little gravel pad, and it was like something I could have done for $1,000. And they said, hey, we know you lost your ass on that last one. There's plenty of money here for a change order. Fluff that number and get your money back. So when you do the right thing, when you have accountability, it all pans out in the end.
Yep, I found that to be true too. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, and you're kicking rocks, walking home with not a whole lot in your pocket on a job after you just broke your back for. But it always comes around, and they're not going to tell you why they didn't call you for the next job, but they will definitely tell you why they called you on the next job if you do something like that. So.
Exactly. And I've gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work out of those guys over a $10,000 oopsie, like whatever.
Yeah. Yep. What's a mistake most people in your field make early on, and how do you advise avoiding or recovering from it?
I think a mistake people make in my field early on is not having the proper experience to do. This is just for me in my industry, to do what needs to be done the correct way. But at the same time, there's shit, I've faked it till I made it too, so there's got to be a balance. It costs more money faking it till you make it. I've done it in other industries where I had no idea what I was doing. This one, I've got 17, 18 years experience now, started as laborer for another company. So when I started my own business, I knew the structural integrity of dirt, foundations, all that sort of stuff, building roads, drainage, percentage, septics, all this stuff. But a lot of guys will get into this industry and think, oh, I'm just going to go buy a skid steer and move some dirt. And then they end up causing more damage than good. And then they call me and I go fix it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know, and kind of just have to jump in there and figure it out sometimes, right? Especially in those kinds of jobs. Walk me through a campaign or product launch that surprised you in a good or bad way, and what you learned.
Well, I think, I don't know, I could go on Plow Pros or the excavation business. I mean, for Plow Pros, we're not even live yet. And we're running advertising campaigns. And in the last week, we've had about 100 people sign up on both sides, which is great. Shows people are really interested in this. And then as well on the excavation side, I didn't really, it was a risk quitting my job and starting it. Our first summer, we did 175K. The next summer, I just dumped a bunch of money into Facebook ads and we did 800,000 the next summer.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So I think the point there is that even though your app isn't ready, running some small ad campaigns just to see if the awareness, like, can you get an email address from somebody before you spend money on developing a product. Right now, as fast as it is to develop new software today in 2025, man, it's really, really quick. I would say run an ad to see if the software, if anybody's even interested in it before you build it.
So something just came to mind. Can I touch a little more on that?
Yeah.
So my team, there's 5 of us. We've gone all in on this, taken out HELOCs on our houses, put the excavation business into debt, giving loans to this new business. One of my partners just quit his corporate America job and pulled his retirement to help fund this. We're roughly 200K into developing this thing. And UMUR in Maine just got a hold of us, the news channel.
Yeah.
They saw one of the ads, they reached out and they said, hey, we want to put you on the news every time there's a snowstorm. Let's work something out. And so, I mean, that right there, I was not expecting that. We figured it was going to be a trickle, and they're like, no, we're going to put you in front of 1 million people every single day. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go.
There you go. Yeah, because there's, life safety, and people get trapped in their houses and they got to get the snow cleared, and they're just having a better way to do it. I know for a fact I've got a 100-car lot, and without signing some ridiculous contract with some vendor that is going to charge me an absurd amount of money, and I don't have any control over how frequently he does it because it just goes off the news. It was horrible. So, I removed that problem for myself. And it sounds like your app will do that at a very affordable rate for somebody. They don't have to be locked in long-term contracts, right? They can just, kind of use it when they need to. It's really, I like it. It's should be fun. As you scale, what's been your playbook for building a team you trust and letting go of tasks you used to do yourself?
This is a good one. So what I've found, I have tried to scale multiple times in the excavation business, and each time I have failed. And it's cost me between $50,000 and $100,000 every single time, because what I do is I will put out a hiring ad. I'll get somebody that has a lot of experience on their resume, and I will not check because I need the help. And I'll say, just because somebody's been doing something for 40 years doesn't mean they've been doing it right for 40 years.
Or your way.
Yeah. So I've had multiple times I've tried to scale. I haven't done the proper vetting process. What I decided this year, because I did it again right after the BLOX, hired a guy that was the best guy in the world, and he cost me about $50,000 in repairs on foundations and everything. Finally threw my hands up and was like, fuck it, it's just me by myself again, whatever. Prayed about it a little bit, and then 3 weeks later, this guy got a hold of me. He was special forces, wants to just get out of the military, wants to get into the forestry industry, and was like, I understand I don't know anything. Treat me like a third grader. I understand I'm not worth anything. And I go, you know what? Maybe this is what we need to do. We need to get guys that don't know shit, that want to learn, and we can train them and build them. The guy's been here a month and a half, and he's just killing it. He's out on his own now, doing jobs, making money. So I think that the problem I've had is, like I said, jumping the gun on hiring people, and instead I've now geared that towards hiring people that don't know anything and molding them. They're a ball of clay, mold them into what you need them to be, rather than getting these guys that aren't on the same page.
I will take ignorant passion over experienced hubris any day.
Amen.
Any day of the week is, you got a passionate person that wants to learn. I think they're still going to cost you $50,000, but they're not going to walk away and go find another job because you've invested in them. And now it's this relationship that you have. And, staff costs. It doesn't matter. Every human you have working for you is going to screw something up in a way that costs you money. It just is what it is. It's part of the game.
But this guy's willing to learn, and every mistake he makes, he learns from, and he corrects, and he does better. So now I don't have to do a lot of the things. I don't have to grease the equipment in the morning anymore. When I'm writing invoices and contracts, he's already on the job site, warming the machine up, getting it greased and ready for me. So when I get there, we can hop in and start getting some work done. He was a E8 in the Air Force, search and rescue guy, lot of leadership skills there. And so my goal with him is to train him to be me, and then do the hiring process to where I can step back, and he's basically running multiple crews. He has better leadership than I do. So that's kind of the task I'm delegating to him now.
Awesome. That's important stuff. And knowing those things about yourself is wildly important. It's hard. It's so hard when you built something and you hand it to somebody else, but it's even harder to hand it to somebody that screws it up and walks away. And then you got to step back into that position, right? So finding that person, and it's tough, man. I think it's the hardest thing about entrepreneurship is finding the right staff that's going to execute your vision. With that being said, stuff changes in the field all the time. How do you structure feedback loops from customer data, teams, to iterate quickly without losing consistency or vision?
I don't have an answer to that.
I've done that before. I like creating loops. I like creating feedback loops. It's good. But you got to close those loops quickly, because if you allow a feedback loop to go unvetted, then what can happen is your staff is consistently making small changes to things, and then it can lose your mission statement, right? Because you can iterate so far outside of what the natural scope is. So you have to have opening feedback loops so your customers and your staff can talk back to you when things change in the field quickly so you can change is important. But if you let it go unfettered, you can lose your company.
Yeah, no, for sure. Customer satisfaction has always been our main goal. And whenever I have an unhappy customer, they're handled immediately, and we do whatever it takes. I don't care if it's 2 extra days worth of work on a machine and me paying for extra gravel or whatever. We go above and beyond to make sure that they're taken care of. But I've never not done that, so I don't know what it would. I can imagine what it would be like if we ignored it.
Yeah. Or if you just if you did everything they ever ask you to do, right? They're no longer a customer, they're a liability at that point, right? If they just continue to say, hey, I know that you put the sod down, but are you going to cut the grass every week?
Yeah,
Right?
so
No, that's a different scope, right? It's a different
right. That goes back to that conversation we already had where accountability. And when I first started, a handshake was good enough for me. And I'll tell you what, everybody signs a contract now. If there's something little that's outside the scope, we just do it to make them happy. But if we're moving the building that we just dug, the foundation we just dug, and we're moving it 100 feet, yeah, no, that's a change order, buddy.
Yeah, anytime that there's liability to me, we're signing a contract now. Moving forward, it's just unfortunate that that's the way I have to do business because I've had too many people walk away from handshake deals that didn't do their part of the deal, and then I still have to do mine because that's the kind of man that I am. I do what I say I'm going to do, even if the reciprocating side doesn't do what they say they're going to do. Nathan, in terms of automation, what parts of your business have you automated early, and which ones you still keep hands on, and why?
As far as automation, I would say probably the advertising, I guess, because you can just set that on a schedule on when you want ads to hit certain times a day, that sort of thing. So I pretty much automated the advertising. I'm no more walking around handing out business cards, knocking on people's doors. I used to do that. I'd see a brush pile in a front yard and go knock on their door and like, hey, this much, I'll take care of that. I don't have to do that anymore.
That's the hustle of business, baby. I love that stuff.
But as far as what I haven't taken my hands off yet is being in the machine. I still have to do that, but I'm training guys so that I don't have to. So that's also working towards automation there.
Yeah, absolutely. What's a growth strategy you believe in, but most people get wrong, and how do you execute it differently?
A growth strategy. Could you give me a couple examples?
Seeing a brush pile and knocking on a door, doing a Facebook ad, right? Doing an Instagram influencer or going on the blocks, right? There's everything we do is a growth strategy in some kind of way, right? I don't think we do anything on a day and saying, man, I don't want to grow today.
Yeah, I think that personal growth is probably the biggest thing. So yeah, you're trying to grow a business, but you're not perfect and you only know what you know. And if you're going to hit a ceiling, right? So I listen to books. I just listened to the book Traction like 3 times. I'm going to listen to it again. Very good book for business owners. The last 2 years, I've started really focusing on personal growth because I kept hitting a ceiling. So it's like, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something because the numbers aren't growing. How can I improve? Okay, maybe it's not on a business wise because my business model is good. Do what you say you're going to do. Give them a price and don't change it unless there's a change order, but so I'm pretty dialed in on that. The advertising, I'm busy all year. I turn work down because I can't get to it because I don't have enough guys. So why am I hitting a ceiling? Okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not growing. I'm not investing in myself. And so that's why I went to the BLOX this year and started listening to these business podcasts and books because it's like there's other things out there that I'm not aware of that nobody's taught me, and I'm not going to learn them on my own. I need that outside information.
As personal growth and entrepreneurship is something that you're going to have to deal with at some point if you want to grow. I've had everything from startups with 1 employee to 700 employees under me at one time, and the different skill sets that are required to manage them in the different ways are profound and scary. So I couldn't agree with you more. Personal reflection and deep dives into yourself are wildly important. I'm going to check out Traction. I've not read that book. I highly recommend. It's my highest recommended book for entrepreneurship. Anytime there's process involved is the Phoenix Project. It's a really fun listen, and it helps people understand process in a way that I've never seen any other piece of art explain it. So the Phoenix Project, it's hands down one of the best books that I've ever read for understanding process and automation. It's really good.
That will be my next book.
Looking ahead, where do you see the biggest opportunity or threat in your industry over the next 3 to 5 years? And how are you positioning for it?
So biggest opportunity, I'm gonna go on both businesses here. The biggest opportunity in the excavation business is where I live is booming. People are moving here from California. I live in Alaska. There's not a lot of developed land, and I'm a land developer, so we're lots of opportunity here where I'm at. Also, opportunity for Plow Pros, I would say, is the public launch and the UMUR going on the news. That is a major rocket fuel for us.
Yeah, and that's a global play, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can literally deploy that anywhere on the planet, which is, I think, really cool that you took your main job, your main business, and then figured out how can I wrap tech around what I already know, what I can already operate on, and then bring that to the masses, and then create an economy for people that didn't exist before, which I think is beautiful. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about, in my mind, at least. Nate, we're coming to the end of the show. And the Diary of the CEO is my favorite podcast. At the end of every show for Diary of a CEO, Steven asks his guests to write a question for the next guest. And I'm going to pull a random card out of here, and I have no idea what it's going to be, but it's generally fairly emotional. I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to answer the question, then I'll ask our audience to answer the same question. Are you ready for your question?
Go ahead.
And this question is written by Sir Richard Branson. What did you learn from your greatest failure?
I learned to not trust people on their word and look at their actions. Somebody's actions will tell you who they are. It's easy to talk. It's easy to say something. Pay attention to what they're doing. You'll figure out who they are and what their intentions are pretty quick if you just hit mute on their voice and just watch what they do.
Absolutely. My greatest lesson from my greatest failure is that everything will be okay. It will be okay. I promise.
Amen to that.
If you're watching and you have a lesson that you've learned from one of your biggest failures, please share it in the comments. Nate, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Nice talking with you.